For Carol Jones, life had become a tapestry woven with darkness. 5 years ago, a car accident robbed her of her sight and threaded sadness into the fabric of her existence. Each day felt overwhelmingly tedious, especially since she had to navigate the world without the guiding light of her vision. It was a cruel twist of fate that rendered her world black while leaving the vibrant city of New York bustling around her, a cacophony of sound and smell that she had to rely on. Initially, Carol found solace in Central Park, a lush oasis in the chaotic heartbeat of the city. An expanse of greenery nestled among towering skyscrapers. It was a refuge where she could feel the sun on her face, hear the rustle of leaves, and listen to the laughter of children playing. Accompanied by her loyal guide dog, Max, she roamed the paths with cautious optimism. Max was her lifeline, a large golden retriever with a calm demeanor and a steadfast sense of loyalty. Trained as a guide dog, Max transformed obstacles into guides, listening to every inflection in Carol's voice, every slight hitch in her step, ready to leap into action when needed. Over the years, he had become not just her guide, but her confidant, her protector, and in moments of need, her savior. On a cool Wednesday afternoon, the air was tinged with the smell of impending rain. Carol sat on a familiar bench beneath a towering elm, savoring the warmth of the sun breaking through the cloud cover. Max lay at her feet, listening intently to the world around them. Until now, this had been her sanctuary, a place where the shadows of her past could momentarily dissolve in the splendor of nature. But today, the tranquility was disrupted when a group of men sauntered into the clearing, their laughter booming against the serenity of the park. Hank, the largest of them, glared at Carol, and she felt a prickling sensation unfold like a warning in her gut. Well, well, he mocked, his voice dripping with disdain. Look what we have here. A blind woman and her fluffy aide. Carol's heart raced. She sensed the hostility in his tone and tightened her grip on Max's harness. He stirred, alertness sparking in his gently intelligent eyes. Max, stay close, she whispered. What's the matter, sweetheart? Afraid of a little fun? Hank continued, approaching them with a swagger that menaced the air. The others laughed in chorus. Their mirth took on a darker hue. Max stood up, his body tense, ready to protect his beloved counterpart. Carol could feel him shifting closer, the warmth of his body a comfort as Hank's gang circled. We're just having some fun, aren't we, boys? Hank gestured, daring them to join him. Carol could hear the sneers, the breathy contempt like a swarm of angry bees buzzing just out of sight. Get out of here, Hank, Carol said, her voice shaken but firm. You're not welcome. Oh, but we're just getting started, he replied, glancing at the others, who egged him on, eyes glinting with cruel amusement. Unable to see the bruises their words inflicted, Carol braced herself, recalling the many lessons Max had taught her about facing danger. As Hank leaned down, bringing his face close to hers, it became clear that intent lay on the horizon. What's that mutt going to do for you? He's just a dog, he spat. Carol sensed a shift in the air. Max's muscles tensed beneath her hand, and she let out a breath, grounding herself. Max is more than a dog, she replied, angling her chin defiantly, glancing upward to meet his gaze. He's a trained guide, and he's never left me behind. You need to back off. Almost instantaneously, Hank lunged towards Max, aiming to grab his collar. The world slowed. A primal instinct ignited within Carol, leading her to jerk back, afraid for Max. But before she could even react, Max sprang into action, swiftly moving aside and snapping the harness taut. He faced Hank, his growl rumbling intensely, a warning echoing through the park. Hank, taken aback, stumbled but quickly regained his garish front. What? You think your pet can intimidate me? He sneered, mocking bravado masking the shock. But the other onlookers were on edge. Suddenly, a man stepped forward, his presence commanding. I recognize that dog, he declared, his tone urgent. That's Bravo, the military K-9 that serve in the field. Get away from them. An electric silence followed, with everyone focused on Max. The man, a former soldier named Jake Carter, had trained alongside Bravo. The name struck Carol's heart like an unexpected thunderclap. Bravo? She echoed, her mind racing as the confusion morphed into a dawning realization about Max's past. The stories she had heard about military dogs flooded back. Tales of bravery, undying loyalty, and protection. "Ma'am," Jake continued, stepping in front of Hank with fierce eyes, "you have nothing to fear. Bravo here used to protect lives, and he still will. Trust me." Hank halted, slowly backing away, and his companions followed suit out of sudden unease. It was a fight they weren't willing to pick. With their bravado fading, they turned and retreated, leaving behind an echo of their mocking laughter, which seemed to shimmy into the distance. Carol felt her heart gradually steady, the adrenaline fading as she leaned against the bench, her hand sifting through Max's fur, reassuring him. He remained poised, ever vigilant, an unwavering sentinel. In the aftermath, Jake knelt beside her, his voice softened by concern. "You've got a real hero by your side," he said, unable to mask the admiration in his tone. As Carol felt a swell of gratitude wash over her, she couldn't help but inch closer to understanding Max. Not just as a guide, but a protector who had faced untold perils. "Thank you," she said, her voice inflected with both relief and sorrow as she realized how much she had yet to learn about him. Days turned into weeks, and the incident in the park lingered in her mind like a gripping novel she couldn't set down. It drove Carol to uncover Max's past. The stories about military dogs gripped her with awe and reverence, and soon she found herself yearning to learn about Bravo's history. After a series of searches and a fair amount of helping hand from Jake, Carol discovered the story behind Bravo. He had saved Sergeant Jake Carter countless times in combat, scaling barriers, detecting explosives, and even retrieving injured soldiers. It was shocking to know that the dog she depended on was not only her guide, but a retired soldier himself. That evening, Carol dialed Jake's number. As she recounted the story, she could hear Jake's voice shaking with emotion. "I'd love to see him again," he said softly. "It's been years since Bravo came home." The reunion took place 2 days later at a nearby park, where Carol had brought Max, who was oblivious to the significance swirling around him, his focus only on her. As Jake approached, Carol felt an electrical spark of hope coursing through her. "Bravo!" Jake called out. Kneeling on the ground, an irresistible energy coursing through his being. She held her breath as Max lifted his head, ears perked, for the distinct timbre that belonged to his old partner. And then it happened. He twisted around, running towards Jake, emotions pouring from both ends as if words would never suffice. It was a moment suspended in time. Jake's face illuminated with joy against the backdrop of trees and murmurs of passers-by. Max nuzzled deeply against Jake, recognition flooding their reunion like waves crashing upon a shore. Carol watched the unfolding scene with bittersweet happiness. The two connected, as if no time had passed. Jake shared thrilling yet perilous tales of their missions, recounting the bond that had been forged on battlefields strewn with uncertainty. "He was my lifeline," Jake said slowly, tears glimmering in his eyes. "Always pulled me back when I was too afraid to face what lay ahead." Listening to the stories only deepened Carol's affection for Max. She felt intertwined with his past, better understanding the weight he carried on his shoulders, forever imbued with valor. After a day imbued with stories, laughter, and emotions shared, Carol found herself pensive, lost in thought. She began to wonder, was she truly giving him the life he deserved? Determined to honor Max's legacy, Carol plunged herself into researching options, facilities that could enrich Bravo's life, offering activities that would echo his military training. Soon enough, she unearthed a remarkable dog retirement facility where retired service dogs could engage with their innate skills, ranging from scent detection to complex obstacle courses. By the following weekend, she knew she had to take Max to this new environment. As they arrived, the whirlwind of activity took her breath away. Scents colliding in the air, dogs of all breeds navigating courses, handlers providing guidance just like she once received. As the trainers adjusted the courses to test each dog, Carol noted Max's instincts kick in, contributing not only his sharp cognitive abilities, but also the sense of camaraderie that flickered in the air. Each task was designed with purpose and involved a precise focus that mirrored what he once embraced in his military days. Watching Bravo excel, weaving through obstacles, she felt an immense surge of pride blossom within her chest. In the moments where Max completed the scent tracking with precision, Carol watched a transformation in him. He didn't just perceive his role as a guide anymore. He found joy in challenge and embraced it, every time exuding a sense of greatness. The realization dawned on her that here, amidst the whirls of excitement, Max was more than just her dog. He was a retired hero continuously finding his footing in the world. Several weeks at the facility passed, steadily enriching Max's life. Carol remained steadfast by his side, watching him thrive. Each time they returned home, she found him more invigorated, animated, placing new colors once dulled by the confines of a singular role. In daily activities like meals or walks, their bond deepened. Carol affectionately began to call him Bravo, a name worthy of the extraordinary life he had led. The name felt strong, a testament to the protector he had ever been, both on the battlefield and within the complexities of daily life. Yet amidst these remarkable moments of exploration, Carol quietly mourned the past. The memories she replayed reminded her of the life that could have been had she retained her vision, but those feelings no longer weighed down her spirit. Instead, she discovered a newfound resolve alongside Bravo, embracing the life they shared and honoring the legacy it brought forward. As the summer sun warmed the city, life settled into a comforting rhythm. Central Park transferred its hues to the dogs and their people walking its paths. Each visit felt like a homecoming, and Carol remained grateful that it was here all her transformations began. One late afternoon, after a particularly spirited training session at the facility, Carol strolled through the park, her heart filled with buoyancy. Max trotted beside her, tail wagging, his spirit undeniable. Way off in the distance, a group of children frolicked, laughter filling the air like bubbles floating off into the sky. Longing to enjoy the moment, Carol led Max toward them. As they approached, one of the boys stumbled, falling onto the grass, spilling laughter replaced by cries of surprise. Without hesitation, Max surged forward, weaving through the stunned group. Carol's heart raced in sync with Max's determination as he went to comfort the boy with gentle nudges. The child's tears dried almost instantly, replaced by a bright smile that echoed what once was lost in the fall. Standing there, Carol's heart swelled at the miracle of belonging and connection, her dream transcending into something extraordinary. Max had not simply adapted to her life. He had reignited joy around him, like a lighthouse growing brighter with every wave. Carol's gaze fell upon the child, and in that moment, she understood that life, while dotted with shadows, is adorned with vibrancy, courage, and moments of raw love. Max and Bravo were a magical merge of bravery. Together, they embraced the uncharted paths and the wonders awaiting them. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting its golden rays on a Central Park, Carol held her head high, allowing herself to be washed over by the resilience braided into their lives. She realized Max provided not just guidance, but fortified her spirit with valor she never knew she needed. They were a blend of two histories, evolving together into life anew. Amidst the pains and pleasures, they would forge ahead, forever side by side, a bearer of the past and a beacon of the present. With the flutters of evening whispering their newfound freedom, they walked on, ready to embrace the brilliance lying ahead.